Hello, everyone. I'd like to start by gathering this, what I call the heart mind. So let's just get comfortable in your chairs. Put your hands and palms facing up. Just close your eyes for a minute. We've all been rushing around today. And take a deep breath in and bring it in through your crown chakra and out through your heart. So just take a deep breath, crown chakra, and release it out through the heart. And what we're doing is establishing a link to soul. So I want you to take another deep breath. And just exhale. Just take a deep breath. Just let that breath out. And with the next deep breath, invite your soul and your guides. We have so many guides and angels all around us every moment of the day. Just invite them in here and now. And as you take another deep breath, consciously open up to the source, to God. As we enter together into the heart mind. Now the heart mind is known by many names. The web, the matrix, the field. I simply see it as this field of energy of love. In this moment, reconnect, opening up your chakras, your soul star, the center sun point, your earth star. As you continue taking a few deep breaths, open up your etheric, emotional, mental, spiritual, and physical bodies. We are in the vortex. We are connected. We always share one steady stream of consciousness with each other. But in this moment, in time and space, we are connected consciously. I want you to take a moment, because this mind field, this heart mind, is intelligent. And it responds to our gratitude and our love. So I want you to think of something through your mind's eye, through your thoughts, and project that into the vortex. Think of yourself in this room and everyone in this vortex of energy. And we're in the middle of it. And project something that brings joy, happiness to your heart. Just put it in there so we can expand this field. Because later tonight, we'll be finishing our time together in the heart line. So take another nice deep breath. And just allow yourself to relax tonight as you hear the words that I speak and when I join Anna. All through the night you'll be receiving energy. Allan Sethius, who is birthed in the spirit, is known as Ascendant Master Sethius, and he loves to come and light weave. So the light weavers are active, very active when I'm speaking. So just be aware of your own energy tonight. Always be aware of the energy that you bring into the world and to every experience. All right, take another deep breath, and when you're ready, you can simply open your eyes. All right, so when I was asked to speak, originally I think I was asked to speak about the thinning of the veils. And I said, well, we're going to talk about that, and we will. And when I join Anna, we will be talking about the thinning of the veils and beliefs about that. But first I want to talk to you about this book. This book was written, let's see, I guess it started at about 3, maybe 4 months after my husband Allan birthed in the spirit. The story begins, we were sitting watching TV one night, and I can say it was an NCIS. We were holding hands, and I hear a voice say, just like you're hearing my voice, not a thought form, but a voice like mine. And the voice said, Katie, Allan's going to die and leave you. Heard it 3 more times. Katie, Allan's going to die and leave you. I looked at him. I saw he didn't hear because he was still watching the program and holding my hand. And I remember thinking of the time, oh blank, something's going to happen and he's going to leave. Now, on our very first date, 12 years earlier, Allan had told me he wouldn't live to see age 70. He lived to see 70, but he didn't live to see 71. So we watched TV about a half an hour later, and I pushed it back because I'm used to hearing voices, and I trusted it. I trusted that whatever was going to happen was in alignment with the soul agreement that we made. So we went to bed, and he tucked me in like he always did. He pulled the blankets up to my ear, and he kissed me on the cheek, and he said, I'll be back in a couple of minutes, honey. So he did come back into bed, and we cuddled. Had I known that would be the last time in our bed, I would have held on a little longer. About 3 hours later, I woke up to go to the bathroom, and I noticed he wasn't in bed. So I went looking for him, and he was sitting in my chair. He never sat in my chair, but he was in my chair. And I woke him up, and I said, honey, why are you sitting out here? And he said he had a horrible headache, and then he went into chills. He said, I didn't want to wake you up, so he came out. He went into chills and headache. And long story short, he had a stroke. Now, I didn't know this at the time. I was still half asleep. There's tissues right here. We gave him, this is Allan's daughter sitting here. So I was half asleep, and I said, well, honey, let me help you get to bed. He couldn't stand. When I tried to get him to stand, he couldn't stand. And that's when, and his cognition was normal. He was Allan. There was nothing different about his cognition, except his voice was very soft. And so that's when I remembered the voice. And then I heard, Katie, it has been written. Katie, it has been written. So I called the ambulance. I said, Allan, honey, you've had a stroke. We have to call the ambulance. Well, long story short, they didn't believe it was a stroke. We went to the hospital. Within 4 hours of me hearing the words, he was being helicoptered to Hershey Medical Center. Now, I didn't think he was going to make it alive to the medical center. And I kept hearing, Katie, it's been written. And I said to my daughter, I said, you know, they take us in that private room, and a minister walks in, he's dead. He's birthed in the spirit. Well, they took us in the private room, and a minister walks in, and he took my hand, and he said, I'm here to help you get through this. And I started crying, and I said, oh my, I'm not ready for this. And he said, oh, no. He's doing really well. He's in the emergency room. I walked back to the emergency room, and there Jennifer was, standing next to her daddy. And Allan starts telling her about how her mom came, who had birthed in the spirit 20 years earlier, and said, Allan, you can't leave yet. You can't leave yet. Now, in this book, he talks about his excitement that here he was in the helicopter. He knew he could go, and he was ready to go. He was seeing Johnny, and he was ready to go, and Jane says, you can't go yet. And then John, who was a soulmate of mine, is a soulmate of mine for 30 years, who had birthed in the spirit 2 years earlier, was also a very, very beloved companion of Allan's, said, you can't leave yet. So Allan decided to stay. And we found out later that he stayed to give you kids a little bit more time. Now, I didn't rush to the hospital and tell Jennifer, your dad, you know, he's going to be birthed in the spirit. So in the book, we talk about some of the mistakes we made with medical directives and things like that. But in this book, we share about his journey and my journey, and what it was like as he began going back and forth and what we experienced individually. When the editor read my book, she said, "How did you get such different tones in the book?" I said, "Well, it was me and it was Allan." "But how did you do that?" And I said, "Well, he talks to me, he communicates with me." "Oh, okay." So anyway, after he birthed in the spirit, well, it was interesting because I had never seen kinetic energy. Jenny had stayed with me. They told me to go home on Monday to get some sleep and let Jennifer there. And it needed to be that way. She needed to be with her daddy that night. And it was the right thing. Again, I know that I was being covered because if I would have consciously 100% knew that Allan was going to birth in the spirit the next day, nothing could have got, Jenny was not going to get my place next to her dad. But that was the way it was meant to be. And by the time I came back in the morning, Jenny had pretty much seen that her dad was ready to go. And she said, "Watch the lights." Every time a nurse came in and did something, or a doctor, the lights would bam. And the nurses would go, "I don't know what's going on with these lights." He was angry. He wanted them to stop. He had pulled out every tube, everything. So a bunch of us gave him an energy session, and I kissed him on the cheek. And in here we talked about a conversation we had. You know, he said, "You're okay with me leaving?" "What are you supposed to say?" "Sure, I'm going to be great." You know, even though you know there is life after this, you still have that, I call it separation anxiety. You know, I've never seen myself as a grieving widow, and I still don't. Allan was my husband while he was here. More than that, he's been my spiritual partner for many lifetimes, and we continue to be spiritual partners. And so, long story short, he birthed in the spirit. We were sitting there at one point, and we all knew he was there. Everybody in that room could feel his presence after he birthed in the spirit. And I stopped everybody and I said, "This is what I want you to feel. What you feel in this moment of peace." So, again, we tell the story in the book. I finally go home about 8 hours later, and I'm sitting alone in my room, because we spent about 4 hours in the hospital afterwards. And I'm finally alone in the room where he had had a stroke, and in the room that we had celebrated so much of life. And I hear, Kay, can you hear me?" "Yeah, Allan, I can hear you." I couldn't really see his body of light at that moment because I was definitely, when grief sets in, and I talk about that in here, the HPA axis kicks in and we go into that fight or flight. Because when we see the physical body without the spirit of God in it, we go into that fight or flight. I was in it for about 48 hours. So he's saying, "Can you hear me?" And I go, "Yeah." I said, "You do know you just died?" And he goes, "Kay, it's amazing over here. I want to tell you all about it." "Allan, it's only been 8 hours." He had no understanding that it had been only 8 hours because there's no time over there. He didn't get it. He didn't get that only 8 hours because all he wanted to do was tell about how exciting it was, as he called it, to be nowhere and everywhere. To be nowhere and everywhere is how he describes it. And he said, "It's really cool. I can see Jenny. I can see Cordy. I can see a lot." Actually, he said he could see a lot more than he did when he was alive. And he talks a lot more now, doesn't he? I mean, everybody, our next book we're writing shares about 20 different stories about different people who are having encounters with Allan Sethius, many of them as teacher. And everyone's saying the same thing. He talks a lot more because Allan was a man of very few words, but when he spoke, everyone listened. So anyway, I said to him, "Allan, I can't do this right now. I can't do this right now." He was happy. He was happy. And he's still happy. He's happy. What did you just say?
He's happier than I've ever seen him.
Yeah, he's happy. And I said, you've got to give me some time here to get acclimated to my new life without you. Because that's what it's all about. It's about getting used to not having that physical presence, that physical touch, that imprint, you know, and it takes a while. And I'm sure every one of you here has experienced someone who has birthed into spirit, who you shared a beautiful relationship with, and it takes a while to get acclimated to them not being in your life, even when you have the connection that I do with the world of spirit. So Allan Sethius really helped me through the months. This book talks about my process through the grief and all the different things that I discovered about myself. One of the things, when someone you love, or when there's a major transition we call loss in our lives, there's an opportunity for a rebirth in your own life. You have an opportunity and a rebirth because all that energy of spirit is being directed upon you. And when you use that, your life is transformed in ways that you can't even imagine. Now, I had been writing, we're going to take the transition now, we'll interweave Allan, because I'm about ready to join Anna. In 2013, I became the voice for Anna. Anna's been known to me for at least 15 years consciously. I'm a dreamer. I go out I go to sleep, I travel, I dream, I come back. That's the way I create everything. My books were written around 3, 4 in the morning, semi-sleep state. My first book, especially Conscious Construction, because Conscious Construction was where I really grounded and anchored Anna. And Conscious Construction is a book that talks about the soul and the journey of the soul as a pre-life plan. Because if you think that you're wandering around this earth without a plan, you may not know your plan. But there is a plan greater than you can imagine. If anyone would have told me 20 years ago that I would be living the life I'm living today, I didn't have that in my consciousness. There would be no way that I could have dreamt that I'd be doing what I'm doing today. And so Anna came fully in, and that was 2013 in November. In December, they said, Katie, put your table away, because I was a really good energy worker, a practitioner, intuitive, I love that work. And they said, put your table away. Time to write the books. Took me about 20 days, but I put the table away, and I lost all that income, and it was pretty good income. And I started writing Conscious Construction. And that's where I really grounded the energy of Anna. I also gained 60 pounds during that process, but we're going to do it now. So anyway, Anna fully came in, and in the beginning, as I told you, people who knew me were really worried that I was going to die. Because the energy was coming in so quickly that the physical form has body adjusting to it, has trouble adjusting to it. My spine, now I've been through Metatron's Fire, and through the years I've been through different shifts of consciousness. But with this, nothing prepared me for the fire inside my spine and my body. And you even see me rocking a little bit now. I used to rock a lot more, and in the beginning, I would have to have 2, 3 fans on me when I would be the voice for Anna. And I always I had to have glasses on, especially when my eyes were closed the first 6 months. And I know I freaked a lot of people out after about 6 months because all of a sudden my eyes stayed open. And then I was aware of everything that was going on. The transition had happened. And when I say that I really want to demystify what channeling is and what mediumship is. Because I do believe that we all have that connection. It may not be a muscle that's used, but it's like anything else. If you use that muscle and you get a good teacher and you really work on old outdated beliefs and patterns and shifts of consciousness, I believe that everyone can have that connection with the realm of spirit. I truly do. So I'm going to, and the other thing is, this veil thing, it drives me crazy because for me, when we say the veil is thinner right now, maybe it's thinner because we're focusing on the dead. And it's that simple. It's that simple that we're focusing on the dead. Now to me, after Allan birthed in the Spirit, I tried to say he was dead. Because this guy on Facebook was saying, you gotta go, they're dead to me. My loved one is dead to me. So I went, okay, Allan's dead. I can't say that, he's not dead. He's birthed in the Spirit. And that was my second book I wrote, Birth in the Spirit, because that's what they do. They're birthing into Spirit. We come from the world of Spirit. And so we birth into Spirit. And it was funny, one of you said about honoring our ancestors. The funny thing is, we are our ancestors. When you think about it, we are our ancestors. One of my students had to have she was really freaking out because she had some relationship stuff. And she said, this is really freaking me out. I said, well, let's bleed through, let's do the chords, yada, yada, yada. And she's like, but I must have been her lover in a past life. And I said, who haven't you been a lover with? When you have thousands of lifetimes, we've done it all. We travel all the time. You're in this group. If you're here, you've connected with people. And that connection goes lifetimes. Not just this lifetime. Allan wasn't my husband this time, just for this time. We're really blessed. We get together when the work is done. We don't raise kids together and all that stuff. We came together for spiritual purposes. 3 days before he had his stroke, he went to my son in a dream and said, Lloyd, tell your mom that the work we did. No, that wasn't your message. What did he tell you?
That he'll see you again either in this lifetime or the next.
And that you should take care of me. Yeah. And then he got on the ship and he left. Yeah. On Saturday morning, one of my students, who we hadn't seen for about 6 months, she said she was meditating, and Allan pops in, and Allan says, you need to give Katie a message for me. And this woman, she didn't want to see people like that. And she was like, I can't believe this happened to me, but it did. And he said, you need to tell Katie our time together was preparation for where she's going. And the student said, well, why don't you tell her? He said, you'll know soon enough. And by the way, when you see her, that crystal you're holding in your hand, it would be nice if you'd give her that. And she did. The day after, we had a gathering at the house, and she brought it, and she brought the message. She said, I didn't understand. And I didn't understand why he just wouldn't tell you himself. Now, he came to her as a gift because she has been fighting that she sees things like that. So when she saw that, and then this came. Okay, so back to Anna. So Anna, I share a steady stream of consciousness with, and what that means to me is whether Anna's speaking or I'm speaking, we're one collective consciousness. I teach, whatever Anna teaches, I can teach. What I teach, they teach, and we just build on it. Now Anna, they are much more blunt than I am. I've been known to, can you imagine that? Jenny sat for 2 years in our energy healing class, and you never officially got to meet Anna, but I'm sure as I talk, you will hear some of it. But the cool thing about Anna is, and my relationship is, have any of you heard Homo Spiritus? Oh, come on. You haven't because I talked to you now. Okay, I'm a Homo Spiritus. We are evolving into a species of Homo Spiritus. Not Homo sapiens. You're used to that, right? But Homo Spiritus simply means there is no veil. There's nothing stopping you from experiencing the different planes of consciousness within God. Okay? So as a Homo Spiritus, you're able to take in more light. It may wreak hell on your body, but you're able to take on light. More light, and you're able to ground it, and you're able to shift consciousness at will. One time, a funny story, before Allan birthed in the Spirit, we were sitting in a restaurant, and we knew we were bilocating. We knew we were doing it separately. But we never did it in the middle of a restaurant to the point where we came back and looked at each other and said, where did we just go? And how long were we gone? And then Allan looked at me and said, did you pay the bill? I said, I don't know, did we pay the bill? And he said, well, there's the waitress. And I said, I don't want to talk about this. I'm like, well, we have to talk about it. He said, I don't want to talk about this. This freaks me out too much. I know we do this, but we just lost time here in a restaurant. How's this going to work? I said, I don't know. This is new to me too. So, Holy Spirit just simply means that you are aware that you are the creative force in your life. How many of you believe that? You are the creative force. I am, okay, the creative force in your life. So I was talking to someone about my mind mastery. Mind mastery makes you look at the old outdated beliefs and patterns. So I'm going to join Anna, and we're going to get on this veil thing, because they have a few things they want to say about that. So just give me a moment here. All right, so as Katie was talking about, we know that you invited us here to talk about the veil, right? And about those who have, we like to call it birth into spirit. Many of you call it dying. Now you do know that that in itself is an old outdated belief. How can you die? You've been around the block a couple times, right?
Yes.
How can you die?
Yeah.
It's impossible, right?
Yes.
Now, the personality that you know as Amy, right? That personality is for this lifetime only, right? Oh, you're like Allan Sethius. Allan said when he found that out, that every lifetime you get a different personality. Allan said, well, I like this personality. Can I have it again? And then it was, no, this personality. And the work that you're here to do is unique to each one of you. Each one of you. So when you birth into spirit, when you leave this physical form, you take the consciousness that you created during this lifetime. And you take it into what many of you refer to. Now we're talking to the band here, but all of you, well, we better ask. How many of you believe in heaven? How many of you believe in an afterlife? All right, so we're preaching to the choir. So most of you have some concept of something after this, right? That you don't have to lay around in a grave and wait. Right? Now, how many of you believed that at one time? I do. Katie did, definitely. We did. And so now you know something different, right? How many of you believed in Santa Claus? Come on, put the hands up. How many of you believed in the Easter Bunny? Oh, all right. You didn't believe in Santa Claus or the Easter Bunny?
I'm Jewish.
You're Jewish? All right. What did you believe in? Oh, well, maybe we're getting it wrong in the Christian faith here.
The tooth fairy.
The tooth fairy. How many of you believe in the tooth fairy? All right, we got you all. Thank you very much. So at some point in your life, you realized something about these, right? What did you realize? That they were, well, not just fantasies, but they were stories that you were told, correct? And you believed these stories and you took them in and made them your own. Now, when you were born, very unlikely that, well, maybe we'll ask, how many of you were raised by parents who were conscious that you were an incarnated child and you were here to teach them? No one. How many of you were raised by parents that didn't expect you to fit in the puzzle? No one. All right. So you were born into this tribe. Now here's the deal, and we have to talk about this before we talk about the veil. You're born into this tribe, and from the age of birth to about 6 years old, you begin imprinting the beliefs of the tribe. You're like a little computer. And they say, there's a tissue, that's the floor, that's the ceiling, and you take it in. And you make these agreements that this is all true, correct? So if someone would have told you, you're an amazing spark of God, and within you is the creative force to create. Perhaps you would have thought differently about yourself as you grew up. Now we can't shame or blame our parents because they had been humanized. They had forgotten. Was it a veil? Some would say yes. Or was it just a belief? Now, what is a veil? What's the definition of your veil? Amy, we'd like to pick on you because we talk to you.
It's like a covering, it covers up something, it hides something.
It covers up something.
Yeah.
So how many of you, we like to call it, pull the bag over your head? You don't want to see what's going on. You pull it over, you go, I don't need to see this, and therefore I don't have to change it. That's a veil, is it not? Is it not a veil to believe that you are limited by your five senses? We want to speak to you about spiritual consciousness. Spiritual consciousness is seeing the world via the sight that you came here with. All of you were born with the sight. All of you were born connecting to the world of soul, spirit. By the age of 6, you begin to become humanized and you get tired of people telling you, no, we don't see your friend. No, Johnny, there's nothing there. No, Susie, no. Oh, remember to color in those lines. The sun is yellow. The grass is green. And this is how you begin forgetting and the veil. All right, as you call it. Now, for Katie, she could see as a little girl, and then around the age of 9, her grandfather died. She went to church, and her aunt said, come, touch Grandpa. She took Katie's hand, and Katie had to touch the cold, dead body. But Katie said, but Grandpa's not there, look. No one could see. So they kept telling Katie, this is dead. This is dead. This is dead. With every funeral the child went to, this is what death is. 6 months later, another grandfather died. He committed suicide. The casket was closed, but Katie could still see all the beams of light in the church. She tried to tell her sister Debbie, and Debbie said, shh. And Katie kept saying, but don't you see? But they didn't see. Fast forward to when Katie was sitting in the church with her 9-year-old granddaughter. Her granddaughter said, Grandma, do you see them all? Do you see them all? And Katie said, I see them. Katye looked at her mom and said, Mom, do you see them? They're everywhere. Her mom didn't see them and said, shh. And then Katye looked back at Grandma and said, but you see them, don't you, Grandma? They're there. So she didn't allow someone to tell her they weren't there. Now, the statement about everyone can communicate with those who are birthed into spirit. We can see there's several of you here who are in the process of grief. And that separation that one feels with that grief. We would tell you, as long as you're in this physical form, people are going to tell you that the way you loved is the way you will experience grief. Katie was ready to jump out a window a couple times when they kept telling her that, because love and grief have nothing to do with each other. Now, can that sadness block out the communication? Can it be a veil? Yes. But you know, sometimes having that distance helps. As Katie said, when Allan Sethius was popping in with his joy, she wasn't ready to hear that. When Katie's dad was birthing into spirit, he kept telling everyone, and David was a devout Christian, he kept telling everyone, you could see where I'm going. You would all want to go with me. Perhaps that is one of the reasons that personalities don't allow themselves to see the grandness of the other planes of consciousness within God. This is another miscommunication that personalities have. Everything happens within God. You've never left. Many of you are trying to find your way back to something that is right here, right here. Those who are birthed into spirit, many of you are aware of the signs. People say, well, I see a bird, I see a butterfly, I see a this, I see a that. Yes. They can transmute their energy to get your attention. What they're trying to do is get your attention. So when you see that sign, that physical sign that most personalities see after someone has birthed into spirit, if it's in their consciousness to do so, because many, we have so much to teach, but many on the second earth planes of consciousness aren't even aware that they can communicate with their loved ones. Now, for those of you who aren't aware, on the second earth planes of consciousness, if you want to experience, go to your telly on and listen to that, what's it called? What are they doing tonight, the Republicans? Yes, if you want to experience second plane consciousness, turn on the telly and listen to the Republicans. Boxed in thinking, dogma, old outdated beliefs, fear, 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 control, control, control. So people on this plane of consciousness are not going to have a concept that they can talk to someone because, again, they are under the concept that when someone is dead, they're dead. When the physical body is dead, it's dead. This is just not true. This is another old outdated belief. One that the work we do with Katie is going to break through. Personalities in this day, they want to believe that there's something more. Consciousness has been shifting. All of you, well maybe not. How many of you are aware of the shift of 2012?